The year was 2157. Humanity had only recently learned they were not alone in the vast universe. Their ships had ventured just far enough to meet a few alien races, make some trade deals, and set up a handful of small colonies beyond the solar system. Captain Alan Carter sat in his command chair on the bridge of the USS Horizon. The ship hummed softly around him as it moved through the darkness of space. Alan was 42 years old with short brown hair that was starting to gray at the temples. His blue uniform was crisp and neat, and the silver pins on his collar caught the light as he turned to look at his crew. "Status report, Lieutenant Winters," he said. Lisa Winters was the communications officer. She was in her early 30s, with blonde hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her fingers moved quickly over her control panel. "All systems normal, Captain. We should reach the edge of mapped space in about 3 hours." Alan nodded. This was supposed to be a simple mission. Go to the border of human space, update some navigation beacons, and come home. The USS Horizon wasn't a warship. It was an explorer, built to find new worlds and make contact with new life. The ship carried scientists and diplomats alongside its crew of 200. "Captain," Lisa suddenly called out. Her voice was tense. "I'm picking up a signal. It's not one of ours." Alan stood up and walked to her station. "Can you clean it?" Working on it, sir." Lisa adjusted some controls. Static filled the speakers, then faded. "It's coming through the translator now." A voice came through. It sounded strange, not human. The words were broken, with gaps between them. ... Civilization under attack. Billions dead ... Weapons ineffective. Please help ... The bridge went silent. Everyone looked at Alan. "Where is it coming from?" he asked. Lieutenant Peter Garcia, the navigation officer, checked his screens. "It's coming from the Alderan system, sir." Alan frowned. The Alderans were a peaceful race. They had made contact with Earth just over a year ago. They were tall, with 4 arms and skin that looked like polished stone. They had told the human ambassadors that they had given up war thousands of years ago. They were artists and thinkers who spent their lives creating beautiful things and studying the universe. "How far are we from their system?" Alan asked. 3 days at maximum speed, sir," Peter replied. Alan walked back to his chair and pressed a button on the armrest. "This is the captain speaking. All personnel, prepare for emergency acceleration. We are responding to a distress call." He looked at Lisa. "Send a message to Earth Command. Include the distress call and our current heading. Tell them we are moving to investigate." "Yes, sir," Lisa said, already typing the message. "Sir," said Commander Jack Wilson, the first officer. He was a tall man with dark skin and serious eyes. "Should we wait for orders?" "The Horizon isn't equipped for combat." Alan shook his head. "If someone's attacking the Alderans, they won't be able to hold out for a week while we wait for backup. We need to see what's happening and report back. We won't engage unless absolutely necessary." Jack nodded, but he didn't look convinced. The Horizon changed course, its engines pushing to their limits. The stars outside seemed to stretch as the ship accelerated. 3 days later, they arrived at the Alderan system. What they saw made them all stare in horror. The Alderan homeworld was burning. Huge ships, like nothing humans had ever seen before, hovered above the planet. They were dark gray and shaped like giant insects, with long legs extending down to the surface. Where those legs touched, the beautiful crystal cities of the Alderans crumbled. "Scan those ships," Alan ordered. Olivia Payne, the science officer, worked at her station. Her face grew pale as she read the results. "Those aren't warships, Captain," she said. "They're harvest vessels. They're stripping the planet of resources, minerals, metals, water ... and life forms." They're collecting the Alderans. For what purpose? Jack asked. Olivia shook her head. The scans suggest they're being processed. For ... For food and raw materials. A cold silence fell over the bridge. Are there any Alderan ships still fighting? Alan asked. No, sir, Peter said. I detect several wrecked ships in orbit, but nothing operational. Alan stood up. Send another message to Earth. Priority 1. Include all scan data of the enemy ships. Tell them ... He paused. Tell them we've encountered a hostile species. That is consuming the Alderan civilization. Request immediate military response. Lisa sent the message, but her face was worried. Sir, it will take 5 days for the message to reach Earth, and at least that long for any help to arrive. I know, Alan said. He looked at the burning planet on the main screen. But we can't just leave. One of the alien ships turned. It had detected the horizon. They've seen us, Peter said. One ship is breaking off and heading our way. Can we outrun it? Alan asked. Olivia checked her readings. Negative, Captain. It's faster than we are. Alan looked at his crew. They were scientists and explorers, not soldiers. But they were also humans, and humans had something that the peaceful Alderans had forgotten, the instinct to fight. All hands to battle stations, he said, his voice calm but firm. Arm all weapons systems. The Horizon had only basic defensive capabilities, a few missile launchers and energy, cannons meant for clearing space debris or discouraging pirates. Against a ship that could destroy worlds, they were like a child with a slingshot facing a tank, but they were not going to run. Open a channel to the alien ship, Alan ordered. Channel open, Lisa said. Alan stood straight, looking at the screen where the massive harvester ship was growing larger. This is Captain Alan Carter of the Earth vessel Horizon. You are attacking a peaceful civilization. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. There was no response. They're charging weapons, Olivia reported. Alan nodded. Target their weapon systems. Fire everything we have. The Horizon's missiles launched, streaking across space toward the much larger alien ship. The energy cannons fired, blue beams, cutting through the darkness. To everyone's surprise, several missiles hit their target. The alien ship shuddered as explosions bloomed along its hull. Direct hits, Jack exclaimed. Their shields weren't even up. They weren't expecting us to fight back. For a moment, hope flared on the bridge. Then the alien ship responded. A beam of red light shot out, slicing through the Horizon's hull like it was paper. Hull breach on decks 3 through 5, Olivia reported, her voice shaking. Emergency. Force fields holding. Prepare for evasive maneuvers, Alan ordered, and keep firing. The Horizon twisted and turned, firing its weapons whenever it had a clear shot. They managed to damage the alien ship further, but it was like a mosquito trying to bring down an elephant. Captain, Lisa called out. I've received a reply from Earth Command. They're mobilizing the fleet, but it will take at least 10 days for them to get here. Alan looked at the burning Alderan world, then at the approaching alien ship. 10 days was too long for the remaining Alderans, and probably too long for the Horizon as well. But they had learned something valuable. The aliens weren't invincible. They could be hurt, and they weren't expecting resistance. Send all our scan data and battle recordings to Earth, Alan ordered. Make sure they know these things can be damaged. Another blast from the alien ship rocked the Horizon. Sparks flew from damaged consoles. Sir, Jack said quietly, we should retreat. We've done what we can here. Alan shook his head. If we run, they'll follow us. They might find the location of our colonies. Our job now is to buy time and learn as much as we can about the enemy. He pressed the ship-wide communication button. All hands, this is the captain. Prepare to ram the yaw. Alien vessel, The USS Horizon sped toward the massive alien harvester ship. The bridge crew held tight to their stations as Captain Alan Carter gave his final orders. "Divert all power to the forward shields," he commanded. "Aim for their main engine section." "Commander." Jack Wilson looked at his captain with a mix of fear and respect. "Sir, this is a suicide mission." Alan nodded. "I know, but we're going to make it count." He pressed the ship-wide communication button again. "All personnel, abandon ship. Get to the escape pods now." Olivia Payne, a science officer, spoke up. "Captain, I've been analyzing their ship design. There's a weakness where the harvesting legs connect to the main body. If we could hit that precise spot with all our remaining missiles, we might do critical damage." Alan's eyes lit up. "Can you program the targeting computers to hit that spot?" "Yes, sir. But we would need to get much closer." "How close?" "Almost touching distance, sir." Alan made a quick decision. "Do it. Everyone not needed for this final attack. Get to the escape pods." Most of the crew left the bridge, hurrying to the escape pods. Only 5 people remained. Alan, Jack, Olivia, Lisa, and Peter. "You should all go," Alan said. Jack shook his head. "Not a chance, sir." The others nodded in agreement. The alien ship grew larger on their screen. It fired again, and the horizon shook violently. "Hull breach on deck 1, Peter reported. "Life support failing in sections 2 through 7. The ship was dying around them, but Alan kept it on course. "Status of the missiles, Olivia?" "Ready to fire on my mark, sir. Target locked on the connection point." The alien ship loomed enormous now, filling their entire view screen. Its surface was covered in strange patterns that seemed to pulse with an inner light. "They're trying to communicate," Lisa said suddenly. Her translator was picking up signals. They're confused. They don't understand why we're fighting." "What do you mean?" Alan asked. "The translation is rough, but they're saying something like, 'Why does the food resist?'" A cold understanding settled over the bridge. To these aliens, all other life forms were simply resources to be harvested. They had never encountered a species that fought back effectively. "Let's show them why humans are bad for their diet," Alan said grimly. "Fire all missiles." Olivia pressed the launch button. The Horizon's remaining missiles, 27, in total fired simultaneously. They streaked toward the exact spot where one of the harvesting legs joined the main body of the alien ship. The first missiles hit, creating small explosions. Then more followed, each blast adding to the damage. The leg began to break away from the main body. "Direct hits." Olivia shouted, "We've damaged the connection point." On the screen, they could see a chain reaction beginning. The damaged leg tore free, creating a massive rupture in the alien ship's hull. Energy surged out from the wound, and secondary explosions began to ripple across the harvester's surface. "We heard it," Jack said in amazement. "We actually heard it badly. But the Horizon was in trouble too. The alien ship had fired one last shot before its weapons went offline. The beam cut through the human vessel's midsection, splitting it nearly in half. Structural integrity failing," Peter reported, his voice steady despite the dire news. "We have minutes at most." "Get to the escape pods," Alan ordered. "That's an order this time." "But sir," Jack began. "No arguments. Earth needs to know what happened here. They need to know these things can be killed." Reluctantly, the 4 officers left the bridge. Alan stayed at his post, guiding the dying ship toward the wounded alien vessel. He opened a channel to the escape pods. "This is Captain Carter. When you get back to Earth, tell them what we found. Tell them the Alderans weren't ready for war, but humans remember how to fight. Tell them ... double key." Paused. "Tell them to come with everything they've got." The escape pods launched, small against the vastness of space, carrying the surviving crew away from the battle. From their windows, they watched as the USS Horizon crashed into the damaged alien ship. There was a brilliant flash as the human vessel's engines overloaded, creating an explosion that tore through both ships. The alien harvester broke apart, pieces of it spinning away in all directions. It was destroyed, the first victory against these unknown invaders. But the price had been high. 5 days later, the escape pods were picked up by a fast scout ship from Earth. The USS Falcon had been sent ahead of the main fleet to investigate. After receiving the Horizon's distress call dot in the Falcon's medical bay, Jack, now the highest-ranking survivor, reported to Captain Diane Foster. The aliens were harvesting the Alderans, he explained, for food and materials. They didn't even see them as intelligent life, just resources. Diane's face hardened as she looked at the sensor data the Horizon had managed to transmit. And they've done this before? To other civilizations? Based on what we saw, yes, many times. How many harvester ships did you see in the Alderan system? At least 12. Maybe more on the far side of the planet. Diane nodded grimly. Main fleet is 7 days behind us. Admiral Wright is bringing everything we have. Jack looked surprised. Everything? For an alien threat to a non-human world? After your message reached Earth, the decision was unanimous. If these harvesters have been moving from system to system, consuming civilizations, they'll eventually reach human space. She paused. Besides, the Alderans asked for help. We answered. The Falcon continued toward Earth, carrying the survivors and their critical information. Behind them, the remains of the USS Horizon floated among the debris of the first alien harvester ever defeated. Meanwhile, deep in space, the main human battle fleet was on its way. Ships that had been built for exploration were hastily fitted with weapons. Military vessels that had been mothballed after the Mars insurrection were reactivated. Leading them was the flagship, USS Vengeance, commanded by Admiral Samantha Wright. On its bridge, Samantha studied the data from the Horizon. These harvesters have never faced a real military force, she said to her officers. They've only attacked peaceful species who couldn't fight back. She looked at the tactical display, where the Alderan system glowed red. Humanity hasn't fought a full-scale war in decades. But we haven't forgotten how. Her officers nodded solemnly. Set course for the Alderan system, Samantha ordered. Maximum speed. And send a message to all ships. Remember the Horizon. As the fleet accelerated toward their target, the aliens continued their harvest, unaware that death was coming for them from the darkness of space. 7 days after the survivors of the USS Horizon were rescued, the human battle fleet arrived at the edge of the Alderan system. 28 ships formed a line in space, with the massive USS Vengeance in the center. The fleet had never been gathered like this before, not since the Mars insurrection 15 years ago. Admiral Samantha Wright stood on the bridge of the Vengeance. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and eyes that had seen too much war. She wore the black uniform of Earth Fleet with 4 gold stars on each shoulder. Status report, she ordered. Her first officer, Commander Paul Evans, checked the displays. All ships report ready, Admiral. The alien harvesters are still in orbit around Alderan Prime. They don't appear to have detected us yet. Samantha nodded. Deploy the stealth probes. I want detailed scans of every harvester ship. Small unmanned vessels launched from the human ships. They moved silently toward the Alderan planet, using technology that made them nearly invisible to sensors. Jack Wilson, the surviving officer from the Horizon, stood at the tactical station on the Vengeance's bridge. He had been assigned to the flagship because of his first-hand experience with the enemy. Based on the Horizon's data, Jack said, the harvesters have a weak point where the collection legs connect to the main body. That's where Captain Carter struck his blow. Samantha studied the images coming back from the stealth probes. The alien ships were huge, each one nearly a mile long. Their dark gray hulls absorbed light, making them look like holes in space. Long, spindly legs extended down to the planet's surface, where they were pulling up resources and living beings. "They're still harvesting," Paul said, his voice tight with anger. "They haven't even stopped to repair the damage from the horizons." "Attack. They don't see us as a threat," Samantha replied. "Not yet. How many Alderans are still alive on the surface?" A young officer at the science station, Lieutenant Nathan Bell, checked his readings. Sensors show approximately 3 million. Life signs that match Alderan patterns. That's less than 1% of their pre-attack population. A grim silence fell over the bridge. Billions of Alderans had already been processed by the harvesters. "Any sign of Alderan resistance?" Samantha asked. "None, Admiral," Nathan replied. "The Alderans have no weapons. They gave them up thousands of years ago." Samantha's face hardened. "Well, humans haven't." She turned to Paul. "Battle Plan Alpha. We hit them hard and fast. Target the connection points on all harvester ships simultaneously." The human fleet spread out, each ship taking position to attack a specific harvester. The USS Vengeance would lead the assault on the largest alien vessel. "All ships, this is Admiral Wright," Samantha broadcast to the fleet. "These aliens have never faced a species that remembers war. They think all intelligent life is simply food or materials to be used. Today, we show them how wrong they are." She paused, looking at the images of the ravaged Alderan world. The Alderans asked for help. Humanity answers. All ships commence firing. Across the void of space, 28 human vessels opened fire. Missiles streaked toward the harvester ships. Energy weapons cut through the darkness. The human attack was precisely coordinated, with every shot aimed at the weak points. Identified from the Horizon's final battle, the harvesters were caught completely by surprise. The first alien ship exploded before it could even raise shields. 2 more followed quickly, their legs breaking off and their hulls rupturing as human weapons found their targets. "Direct hits on 11 targets," Jack reported, his voice rising with excitement. "They're starting to respond." The remaining harvesters began to turn, finally recognizing the threat. They fired back with red energy beams that sliced through. "Space. Evasive maneuvers," Samantha ordered calmly. "Second wave of missiles. Launch now." The human ships moved with practiced precision, dodging the alien attacks while continuing their own assault. They had trained for this, prepared for this. Humans had been fighting wars for thousands of years. The knowledge was in their blood. One human ship, the USS Defiant, took a direct hit and broke apart. But the rest pressed the attack, focusing. Fire on the harvesters, one by one. "We've destroyed 8 harvester ships," Paul reported. 9:10. The largest harvester, the one targeted by the Vengeance, fired its main weapon. The red beam struck the human flagship, causing the shields to flare bright blue. "Shields at 60%, an officer called out. "Minor damage to decks 12 through 15. "Keep firing," Samantha ordered. "All batteries, continuous fire on the target's main connection point." The Vengeance's weapons pounded the giant harvester. Missiles exploded against its hull. Energy. Cannons cut deep into its structure. The alien ship began to break apart, its legs tearing away from the main body. "It's working," Jack shouted. "They're falling apart." But the harvesters were learning. The remaining ships began to cluster together, combining their shields and firepower. "They're adapting," Paul warned. "Changing tactics." Samantha smiled grimly. "So can we. Order attack pattern Delta. Surround and isolate." The human fleet shifted formation, moving to encircle the remaining harvesters. More missiles launched, more energy beams fired. 3 more human ships were damaged, but the harvesters were falling one by one. "Admiral," Nathan called out, "I'm detecting energy readings from the surface. The harvesters are activating something down there." Samantha frowned. "Scan it. What are they doing?" Nathan worked his controls, and his face paled. It's a bomb, Admiral. If it detonates, it will crack the planet's crust. Nothing will survive. They're going to destroy the planet rather than leave the resources for us," Paul said in disbelief. "Not if we stop them first," Samantha replied. She pressed a button on her chair. "Ground assault teams, prepare for immediate deployment. Your target is a harvester device on the surface. Coordinates are being transmitted now." In the Vengeance's launch bay, soldiers in battle armor boarded small, fast shuttles. These were humans trained for combat on hostile worlds. Their leader, Major Greg Daniels, checked his weapon one last time. "Listen up," he called to his troops. "We're going down to save what's left of the Alderaan people. These harvesters think we're just another peaceful species they can wipe out. Let's show them what happens when they mess with humans." The soldiers cheered. The bay doors opened, and 20 shuttles launched toward the planet's surface. They flew fast and low, dodging harvester legs and energy beams. On the bridge of the Vengeance, Samantha watched the battle unfold. More harvesters were falling, but the bomb on the surface was still active. "Major Daniels, status report," she called over the comm. "We've landed, Admiral," Greg's voice came back, mixed with the sound of weapons fire. "Meeting heavy resistance. These harvester troops aren't very tough, but there are a lot of them. We're pushing toward the device now." Samantha looked at the tactical display. The human fleet had destroyed 17 harvester ships. 7 remained, still fighting desperately. "Keep pressing the attack," she ordered the fleet. "Don't let up." For a second, the battle for Alderaan had begun, and for the first time in their long history of conquest, the harvesters were learning what it meant to face a species that knew how to fight back. Major Greg Daniels and his soldiers moved through the ruins of what had once been a beautiful Alderaan city. The buildings, made of crystal and light metals, were now mostly rubble. The streets were littered with broken structures and the bodies of dead Alderaans. Greg was a veteran of 3 campaigns on Earth and its colonies. He was 40 years old with a scar running down the left side of his face. His black armor was scratched and dented from years of combat. "Stay alert," he told his troops over the comlink in their helmets. "We don't know what these harvester ground units look like," they found out a moment later. Something moved in the ruins ahead of them. It was roughly human-shaped, but made of gray metal. It had no face, just a smooth oval where a head should be. Its arms ended in tools rather than hands, one a cutting blade, the other a grasping claw. "Contact front," shouted Sergeant Kelly. Adams raising her rifle. The harvester drone turned toward them. More appeared behind it, climbing over the rubble. There were dozens of them. "Open fire," Greg ordered. The human soldiers fired their weapons. Bullets and energy blasts hit the harvester drones. Some fell immediately, but others kept coming, their metal bodies absorbing the impacts. "Aim for the joints," Greg called out, noticing that. Hits to the connection points between body parts seemed more effective. The soldiers adjusted their aim. More drones fell, but they were still outnumbered. "We need to keep moving," Greg said. "The bomb is 2 kilometers north of here. We can't get bogged down." He pointed to a group of 6 soldiers. "Jones, take your squad and create a diversion east of here. The rest of us will push through to the target." Lieutenant Susan Jones nodded and led her team away, drawing some of the drones after them with concentrated fire. Greg and the remaining soldiers fought their way forward. The harvester drones were not skilled fighters. They were designed for collecting resources, not combat. But there were many of them, and they showed no fear. After 20 minutes of running and fighting, Greg's team reached a large plaza. The center stood a tall metal tower that pulsed with red energy. That was the bomb. "Cover me," Greg told his soldiers. "I need to get a closer look." While his troops held off the approaching drones, Greg moved to the device. It was unlike any bomb he had seen before. The tower went deep into the ground, and energy readings suggested it connected to the planet's core. Greg activated his comlink. "Admiral Wright, this is Major Daniels. We've reached the device. It's some kind of energy drill connected to a massive power source. It's definitely designed to crack the planet open. Can you disable it?" Samantha's voice came back, punctuated by the sounds of the space battle still raging above. Greg studied the tower. "I think so. There's a control panel near the base, but we're under heavy attack from harvester drones." "Hold your position, Major," Samantha replied. "I'm sending reinforcements." In orbit, the battle had turned decisively in humanity's favor. Only 3 harvester ships remained, and they were surrounded by the human fleet. "Prepare shuttles 3 through 10 for immediate launch," Samantha ordered. "Lieutenant Bell, I need you to go with them. Your science team needs to help Major Daniels disable that device." Nathan Bell looked surprised. He was a scientist, not a soldier, but he nodded firmly. "Yes, Admiral." More shuttles launched from the Vengeance, racing down to the surface. They landed in the plaza near Greg's position, and soldiers poured out. Immediately joining the fight against the drones. Nathan and his team of 4 scientists ran to the tower, ducking energy blasts from the drones. "Major Daniels?" Nathan called out. Greg nodded to him. "You must be the science team. Good timing. We're running out of ammunition." Nathan examined the control panel on the tower. "This is harvester technology, but the principles should be similar to other energy systems we've studied." He connected a small computer to the panel. "I think I can access the command protocols." While the soldiers fought a desperate battle to keep the drones away, Nathan and his team worked to understand the bomb. The plaza was filled with the sounds of weapons fire and the metallic noises of damaged drones. "I've got it," Nathan said. After several tense minutes, "It's counting down. We have about 15 minutes before it reaches the core and detonates." "Can you stop it?" Greg asked. Nathan typed frantically on his device. "Not remotely. The system is isolated." He looked up at the tower. "Someone needs to manually override it from the main control chamber. It's about halfway up the tower." Greg looked up. The tower was at least 50 meters tall, with no obvious way to climb it. "How do we get up there?" Nathan pointed to a small opening near the base. "There should be an internal access shaft, but whoever goes in will be exposed to the energy field. The radiation levels are extremely high." Greg understood what that meant. It was a suicide mission. He checked his armor's radiation shield. It would provide some protection, but not enough for a safe return. "I'll go," he said simply. "Sir?" "Let me do it," said Sergeant Kelly Adams, stepping forward. Greg shook his head. "No, Sergeant. You have 3 kids waiting for you back on Earth. I don't have anyone. Keep the drones off my back while I'm in there." Before anyone could argue, Greg entered the opening in the tower. Inside was a narrow shaft with a ladder leading up. Red energy pulsed around him, making his skin tingle even through his armor. He climbed quickly, feeling the radiation seeping through his protection. His body started to ache, but he kept moving. In orbit, the final harvester ship exploded under the combined fire of 5 human vessels. Admiral Samantha Wright allowed herself a small smile of satisfaction. "All enemy ships destroyed, Admiral," Commander Paul Evans reported. "Casualties?" Samantha asked. 3 ships lost, 5 heavily damaged. Approximately 400 personnel killed or missing. Samantha nodded grimly. It was a high price, but they had won the space battle. Now everything depended on what happened. On the surface. Major Daniels, status report, she called. There was no answer for several long seconds. Then a weak voice came through. This is ... Daniels. I've reached the control chamber. Greg stood in a small room filled with alien technology. In the center was a glowing red crystal pulsing with energy. The radiation was intense here, and he could feel his body failing. His vision was blurring, and blood was leaking from his nose. What do I need to do? He asked Nathan, his voice strained. Nathan's voice came through his helmet, breaking up with interference. There should be ... crystal. Remove it and ... replace reverse position. Greg moved to the central crystal. With shaking hands, he gripped it and pulled. It came free with a surge of energy that knocked him back. Warning alarms blared in his helmet as his radiation exposure reached critical levels. With the last of his strength, Greg turned the crystal and pushed it back into place, but upside down from its original position. The red energy turned blue. The pulsing slowed. It's done, Greg managed to say before collapsing. On the surface, Nathan watched the tower's energy field change color. His instruments showed the device powering down. It worked. He shouted to the soldiers still fighting. The drones. The bomb is disabled. The human soldiers cheered, finding new energy to push back the harvester drones in orbit. Samantha received the news with mixed emotions. They had saved the planet and the remaining Alderans, but at a cost. Send medical teams to the surface. Immediately, she ordered. And prepare for cleanup operations. I want every piece of harvester technology collected for study. She looked at the view screen, showing the battered but intact Alderan world. The harvest is over, she said quietly. Now the healing begins. 2 weeks after the Battle of Alderaan, the USS Vengeance remained in orbit around the damaged planet. Most of the human fleet had returned to Earth, carrying wounded soldiers and captured harvester technology. But Admiral Samantha Wright had stayed behind with 3 ships to help the surviving Alderans. Samantha stood in a meeting room aboard the Vengeance. With her was the Alderan leader, High Scholar Veeler. He was tall and thin with 4 arms and skin that looked like polished blue stone. His large eyes blinked slowly as he spoke. We cannot thank you enough, Admiral Wright, Veeler said. His voice was musical, with a slight echo. Humans have saved what remains of our civilization. Samantha nodded. We answered your call for help. Any decent species would have done the same. Veeler shook his head. No, many would not. We sent our distress call to 12 different worlds when the harvesters first came. Only Earth responded. This surprised Samantha. What about the other advanced civilizations in this sector? The Centauri? The Volux? The Centauri shut their borders when they heard about the harvesters. The Volux said it was not their concern. Veeler's voice held no bitterness, only sadness. Most species in this galaxy have forgotten how to fight. They have been at peace for so long that they no longer remember war. And we humans are different, Samantha said quietly. Yes, you still remember. You still know how to fight for others, not just yourselves. Veeler gestured to the view screen, showing the Alderan surface. Human ships were landing, bringing food, medicine, and building materials. Soldiers who had fought the harvesters now helped rebuild Alderan cities. We have lost much, Veeler continued. Over 9 billion of my people are gone, but the 3 million who remain will rebuild, and we will not forget what humans have done for us. The door opened, and Commander Paul Evans entered. Admiral, we finished the analysis of the harvester ship we captured mostly intact. What have you learned? Samantha asked. Paul placed a data pad on the table. The harvesters have been doing this for thousands of years. They've consumed at least 37 other civilizations that we can identify from their records. Wheeler's 4 hands trembled slightly. So many. They don't see other life forms as equal, Paul continued. To them, all other species are just resources to be used. Food and materials. And have you found their homeworld? Samantha asked. Paul nodded. Yes, it's about 20 light years from here. Their records show they have 9 more harvester fleets operating in different parts of the galaxy. Samantha absorbed this information, her face grave. So this isn't over. No, Admiral. It's just beginning. On Earth, the United Nations Security Council was in emergency session. Representatives from every nation filled the chamber as Jack Wilson, the Horizon survivor, addressed them. The harvesters pose a threat unlike anything humanity has ever faced, Jack said. They don't want our land or our resources. They want us, all of us, as food. The chamber was silent as Jack showed images from the Battle of Alderaan, a destruction of the planet. The processing facilities where Alderans had been turned into nutrition for the harvesters. We stopped them this time, Jack continued. But there are more harvester fleets out there. And eventually, they will come for Earth. The Secretary General, a stern woman named Elena Diaz, spoke next. What do you propose, Commander Wilson? We need to take the fight to them, Jack said. Simply, find their homeworld. Stop them before they can harvest any more civilizations. Elena looked troubled. You're suggesting a preemptive war? Against a species that hasn't attacked Earth directly? They will, Jack insisted. It's only a matter of time. And they've already killed billions of Alderans. How many more will die if we wait? The debate lasted for hours. Some nations wanted to build defenses around Earth and its colonies. Others agreed with Jack that they needed to attack the harvesters first. In the end, they reached a compromise. Earth would build up its defenses, but it would also send a fleet to find and neutralize the harvester homeworld. 3 months later, Admiral Samantha Wright stood on the bridge of the newly built USS Avenger. It was the largest warship humans had ever constructed, built specifically to fight the harvesters. Behind it floated 20 more ships, a mixture of military vessels and converted civilian craft. All ships report ready, Admiral, Paul Evans said. He was now Captain Evans, with his own ship in the fleet. Samantha nodded. Open a channel to all vessels. When the channel was open, she spoke clearly and firmly. This is Admiral Wright. Today we leave Earth not just to defend our world, but to protect all peaceful species in this galaxy. The harvesters have consumed dozens of civilizations. We will make sure they never consume another. She paused, looking at the stars on the view screen. Somewhere out there was the harvester homeworld. The Alderans asked for help, and humanity answered. Now we answer for all those who cannot fight for themselves. We carry with us not just the hopes of Earth, but of every world threatened by these predators. On each ship, humans prepared for the journey. They were soldiers and scientists, engineers and medics. Some had fought at Alderaan. Others were new recruits. But all understood the importance of their mission. We do not seek to destroy the harvesters, Samantha continued. If they can learn to live peacefully, we will accept that. But if they continue to treat other species as food, then they will learn why humans are the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. The fleet moved away from Earth, accelerating toward the stars. As they reached maximum speed, Samantha gave one final order. For the Horizon, for Alderaan. For Earth, let's bring the fight to them. On the Alderaan homeworld, Wheeler stood with a group of human scientists and engineers. They were examining the ruins of a harvester ship, learning its technology. Nearby, Alderaan children watched as human teachers showed them how to use simple weapons for defense. We were pacifists for 5,000 years, Wheeler told a human scientist named Karen Mitchell. We thought violence was behind us forever. Karen nodded sympathetically. Many species make that mistake. They forget that peace must sometimes be defended. Humans have not forgotten, Wheeler observed. You still remember how to fight. Yes, Karen agreed. But we also remember why to fight. Not for conquest or resources, but to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Wheeler looked up at the sky, where the stars were beginning to appear as night fell. Somewhere out there, human. Ships were hunting the harvesters, seeking to end their threat forever. The galaxy cried for help, Wheeler said softly, and the humans responded. Karen smiled. That's what we do. That's who we are. As darkness fell completely, the stars shone brightly overhead. And among them, humanity carried its ancient knowledge of war to those who had thought the galaxy was a safe place. The harvesters would soon learn that some prey bites back, and humans bite hardest of all.